blah, 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 blah.
Ugh! My snout's receded. My fangs are shortened. I mean, I'm still overly hairy, but I guess that means October's over.
Is this an established bit? I actually thought when you first said it that your snout shortened because I frightened you.
You receded up into me out of fear.
My meme air horn, it like pushed your snout back into your face. I didn't even know you had a snout until you said it.
Yeah, I was a werewolf all month.
You were a werewolf all month?
Yeah, I mean, such is the nature of spooky season.
I can't lie, man. That sounds goddamn exhausting.
It is. You know what else would be exhausting? Is if these people... I think YouTube changes their shit all the time.
Right.
Speaking of, what should we listen to tonight? I didn't put on music.
Well, I don't really know what the rules are. What are the procedures?
This is just for stream, so pretty much no holds barred. We typically stick to video game stuff, because Twitch isn't gonna flag that.
Okay. Well, let's, because we were trying to make sort of a study hall, a welcoming space to everybody to sort of work together. We were hoping to want something calm. We could do Sticker Brush Symphony from Donkey Kong Country to start out. We could do one of those long videos they have of it.
Well, I'm just gonna throw something on, something I don't have to tend to, because I don't want to tend to the playlist. So in that nature,
like
though,
a 10-hour.
I'm gonna throw on Professor Layton. Oh, that's probably for the better, so you don't hear me twice, and you don't hear you twice.
Yeah. And
By the way,
me.
I mean, you've been on the show before, but would you care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Feasible Drop. I'm the guy from the chat.
It's feasible, everybody. And we're gonna study some art together.
Yeah, the plan is to just crack open the books and, encourage everybody to draw at their own pace.
Their own 10 pace?
Well, they only get 10 paces, but they can draw at 10 of them.
Well, yeah, the final happens at 10 paces, so I hope you've been listening all semester.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you start at the right end. I will
Exactly.
so
So we're gonna do
like those professors that would be like, I will lock the door if you're a minute late. Like, we will give you the final if you go to the 10th pace first.
They're just waiting right there at the end with a stack full of finals. So we're going to be studying, and I chose this image because Feasible here wanted to study some lighting. So I chose this because it's a familiar face, but it's a real image of a real statue, and so you get a lot of that ambient lighting. But it also has a lot of smooth and hard edges. Just kind of...
No. For sure,
Yes.
this will be really challenging for me to draw.
Yeah, and so if you have any questions along the way, please shoot them my way. If you're looking for ways to do stuff, definitely let me know. Hashing is a good way to go about it. Or you can try and... You're working in graphite on paper, so there are more subtle ways you can go about it, but it's nothing to really fret about yet, because we're just kind of getting on the basics here. We used to do schoolhouses here at 10 paces, but I mean, we don't really have an industry professional here anymore, so we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, it's a pile of students.
Exactly. Regular study hall. But let's get into it, because... So, where I'm going to start, I'm going to get kind of an outline sketch down, or just a rough. I do have a little more advantage in that regard, because I'm working with layers here.
Yeah, that helps.
But I'm still going to just lay down something light, like I would do with pencils, because laying down a lot of value, like with pencils, it's always best to start off with a there are different hardnesses of pencils.
Yeah, I've got the one mechanical.
So that's going to be a I believe it's 2H. That's what a number 2 means. If somebody out there in chat, I believe the number 2 is 2H and not 2B. I'm gonna look that up right now, actually.
I'm not sure. It just says Papermate clear point 0.7
millimeter. Let's see.
Possible the packaging had some of the grading on it or whatever. See, really, I already know shading.
Those numbers,
I have to shade the negative space into a circle just to lay down a blocking face. I'm still learning to get those big confident strokes, so really I'm just like, I'm doing what you do when you're trying to create a nose without drawing a big, like Wario nose on one of your characters.
Right, you don't want a bunch of hard lines, because nose is so hard to draw, and that's where, like, a lot of my foibles lie in drawing self-portraits. Because there's a lot of nose, and it's a lot of oblong.
That's fun. You know, I've done a lot of MS Paint self-portraits. It's probably the thing I've drawn the most of, and it's actually pretty freeing. I'm somebody that's always been like somewhat disconnected from the idea that that guy is me, and it's really interesting to play with the natural shapes of the face, to exaggerate or even compress notable features that make you feel like you're looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know what you mean. It's a lot of nose, but also, like, draw a nose with the rest of you hanging off of it all the time for a self-portrait, you know?
Right. But I took a lot of, well, I didn't take a lot of, but I took a drawing class where it was very much trying to draw as close to life as possible based off of, what we were seeing.
Gotcha.
And so a lot of that's important, and it's important to try to go for like that realism, just to you've got to learn the rules before you can figure out where you can break the rules, I guess. And I mean, I'm still in that process, and I don't know if I don't know that I'll ever be out of that process.
Yeah, it's one of those things that obviously you don't, like, on the face of it, if you're very literal, it's just not true that you have to know a rule to break it, but, like, to effectively break it, for it to mean something, that the character is shaded this way or whatever, you know, there have to have been other rules that have been followed.
Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, you can exaggerate certain features, but it's, like you said, more effective if you kind of mash those up against realistic features.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why,
especially foundationally,
I think caricature artists get kind of a bad rap. You know, it's a bunch of boardwalk types and, theme park artists, but there's a lot of...
For You episode didn't do him a lot of favors.
There's a lot of skill that goes into caricature art.
No, I actually watched a YouTube video this saying, what's his name? The ultimate edgy comic book artist.
Yonan Vasquez.
No, sorry. The big man of 90s edgy Cable had a gun that was bigger than his rest of his body hanging.
Oh, you're
off
talking about
his
the guy
arm.
who drew like the big pecs,
The Captain America people
Captain
hated, yeah.
America,
Can't remember his name right now.
Steve
Don't think
something.
It's Steve. Not to fart your bubble, but
Oh, fuck.
I think it's
It would have been so
Jeff
handy.
Bezos. It's
Lind, maybe for the last name.
bad.
Would have been so handy to have you here, Dakota.
Rob Liefeld.
Yes.
So Rob Liefeld, he was just talking about like he's doing that on purpose. Rob Liefeld, even he knows anatomy rules and is breaking them because it'd be cool if there was a muscle there, you know. And
Yeah, but it doesn't come off well is the thing. Like,
oh, for sure.
Rob Liefeld is exactly where that role comes into play. Like it doesn't look good looking at it.
I think it's a hard thing to quantify objectively because subjectively, I do think almost all of his art is pretty atrocious. But like, I don't think there's any unintentionality. He didn't slip and create fake muscles that rippled extra good. You know, that's just what he's into.
Yeah, but his art's especially unappealing for that reason because it falls within that. I don't even know if it falls within the Uncanny Valley.
No.
Are you familiar with the Uncanny Valley?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When for a moment when something goes from unrealistic towards realistic, there's an unexpected dip where it is far more unsettling to people than it used to be.
And then there's like the Rob Liefeld detour.
Rob Liefeld is just he's just doing what the guy who makes JoJo does. You know, just bad.
But yeah, exactly. And it's such a fine line between the two, where the guy who does JoJo does it stylistically well, because they're not these gargantuan monstrosities. They still fit certain proportions within JoJo's. They fit proportions our brains recognize, even if they are grotesquely angular, I guess.
You know what? I don't think there's anything grotesque about a single JoJo character. Every single one of them can get it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll cut yourself, but
yeah,
as soon as one of those chins or noses brushes up against you.
Oh, on the chins and noses. Please do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying my dick is made of diamond. People will still cut themselves on it, but just to say they did it with diamond dick.
I don't mean to be too critical of the stream partner, but that one seems like it got away from me a little bit.
Was that obvious?
I love and support you, of course. However,
Nah, I appreciate that.
I think there was a blind corner somewhere in the joke where it's like, oh shit, his dick was a diamond already. I heard he said the punchline was how I started.
Yeah, I Tarantino'd that joke.
Yeah, so if there is anybody watching, it'd be great if you wanted to chime in with anything you're working on. And if you're not working on anything and you're in a place to do that, you should definitely, whip it out and get a couple of scratches done.
Yeah, even if it is made of diamond.
See, now you're bringing it back. You're wrapping it back around.
Yeah, I can hammer a joke home until it's funny or just increasingly unfunny.
You hit a penny hard enough, it becomes a dollar.
A pound.
That's a true. Oh, a pound. That's actually that's a funny. That's a funny pun. Well, you know, like that is a pun quality pun.
It's on the upper echelon of puns. Though I don't know it's a pun. I think it's...
Yeah, you know, because you're hitting it, so you get a pound.
Yeah. I figured it was just wordplay.
Well, I think a pun is when it specifically sounded like words.
I think those are homophones.
Well, that's what the sounds like words are, but a pun is a joke based on the homophone.
Right.
Technically, like any blanker I hardly know her, like poker I hardly know her. It's, you know, like a pun.
Yeah. That makes sense. I focused on all this drawing shit, and I certainly neglected, like, all of my English teachings growing up. I didn't even focus on drawing shit. I focused on, like, mathematics, and I noticed that's, like, maybe one of the big dichotomies in high school is either good at English or good at math, and there is no middle ground.
They introduced the times tables and they fucked me all up.
So you certainly sat on that side. Like, you were not good at English, or were not good at math, rather?
Yeah, no. I found I was a little bit more, loquacious than fucking smart word for math guy.
Calculatory.
I thought it would fall into my lap. But I'm more of a poet than a...
Yeah, that's fair.
And not the rhyming kind before you get off my ass. Just the kind that says stuff and it's good in its art every time.
You're a wordsman.
I'm a man of many words.
And see, numbers always made sense to me because there was only one right answer.
That certainly seems to be the case when you understand it. I think you'll find when you've been gifted at everything else that anyone's ever thrown at you through all of schooling and shit, there are no right answers in that. It was the first time I'd ever worked hard on something and gotten a bad grade in my life.
Yeah, and that was English for me.
Oh, really? You're not
Yeah.
bad with words at all. I don't think of you as a non-literary type of person at all.
Yeah, but think back to high school, Travis. He was kind of a Luddite.
I don't know. I mean, you liked to bash stuff together, but that's a cool thing to like.
Yeah, but the things I was bashing together weren't words.
They definitely were words for me. I was doing RPs on internet forums. That's basically how I spent my whole childhood. Do you know what?
What?
It's not the mental health hour. I realized it was a clear sign, if anybody was truly allowed in my inner world, that I would spend all day like on forums refreshing to see if anybody responded to me. That I had like obsessive tendencies.
Ah. I mean, that makes sense.
I spent like a lot of my grade school years just on forums waiting for responses. Granted, some of that was arcane, so I was writing for
Yeah. And I mean, I think a big part of that might be where we grew up. We didn't have a lot of the socialization that you might get from a town where, you know, you can walk around places. Because that's not a luxury we had.
No. You, what's your policy on talking politics here?
We do it pretty frequently. People know how I feel about cops and landlords, and even if they don't want to, they know about it.
Do you have a lot of, you get a lot of hate mail?
Not yet. I don't think we're big enough to get hate mail. But we could be. We're on that 100-follower creep. I look forward to it.
Oh, the places you'll go, Travis.
Trying. We'll get there. When we get enough followers that we're getting hate mail, that's kind of it. I know I've made it. I'm big enough that I'm in the eyes of people who don't actively really care for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
I'm at least coming up in the feeds of folks who aren't actively seeking me out.
Want nothing to do with it. Well,
I mean,
if you find that validating, get on TikTok. People will harass you. Like, if you use any of the introduction tags, they just show up and be like, "Hey, good job making a TikTok, fat ass."
how they gonna know about my ass? I ain't shown ass on cam yet.
Where the about me ass?
Anyway, you were going on a point, and we kind of...
Oh, no, it's just that, the design of residential zones in our, current sort of system are not residential zones, non-residential zones are always only affirming your ability or your welcomeness when you're spending money. You know what I mean? You only go places to spend money. And without any common areas, without any meeting places, walkability doesn't matter because you're not going to go anywhere. You go home, you go to the store, you go home.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's very rare that a town has like a meeting space because, everything costs money.
Yeah, I mean, people are afraid of letting youths have a zone. Like, it's not their favorite to let young people congregate. And I mean, I understand why. I got bullied. Like, you find me any group of young men, I'll shit myself.
Like even to this day.
Even to this day. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm really uncomfortable around it. I got harassed by a lot of young men.
Yeah, I mean, you did spend a lot of time at the YMCA.
Hey, it's fun to stay in the YMCA.
But yeah, I mean, there's a way to do it effectively. I don't know how. I haven't delved deeply enough into those dynamics to really have good advice on this topic, but I know it's possible.
Sorry, to do what effectively? I got in draw mode.
Oh, to have good places where young people can hang out, like...
Some of the danger from like disillusionment, comes from other stuff. Like in a situation where you're going to be able to put forward these policies the way they should be put forward, I think there's going to be less reason for that kind of frustration and that kind of aggressive clan building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I really only.
Yeah. Like, I have a friend who has owned many game stores in small towns, and that's kind of been their ideology behind, not only is it a kind of competition thing because game stores are an inherently competitive business.
Right.
But they've always said they've wanted to offer up a space for younger people to do stuff in small towns that isn't, going around drinking or vandalizing shit.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, but it's good to have
All things
options.
in moderation. It's gonna be gross, corny contract. I don't have the kind of time to do this well at my level.
No, I feel ya. I barely put any time into these Thursday streams, and so a lot of my stuff ends up just not where I'd like it to be, but
I've found them.
you found them when? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I moved my microphone. I've found them really welcoming. And it's you guys doing this show that's really gotten me back.
I'm glad.
I'm really happy about it.
So, what are you noticing so far? Like, what are you focusing on whenever you go into this?
Well, it started with the ground and the trees.
Okay.
If you want, I can show you what I now have.
Yeah, show me, and I can, if you're okay with it, I'll show the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to spend much time trying to get Ichiro Oda's light art style looking right. I wasn't going to do. I wanted to do round eyes,
Yeah. That's so important to the One Piece vision, I guess.
It's so important to the One Piece. We know what it is, and Luffy has
It's round eyes and round shoes.
The One Piece was the eyeballs we had along the way. We had all along the way.
I mean, that's what I love about anime, is that, like, the eyes are so identifiable, and it's not always very off-putting, I guess. I was gonna say it's not off-putting, but then I remember there's a lot of... Like, the Soul Eater manga is pretty
It's off-putting on
rough.
purpose. Unless you're talking about something else.
No, I mean, like, I don't think it's intentionally off-putting. Anime eyes, it's kind of like a... I think the reason anime took off is just because it's such like a boiled down kind of... Like how we have cartoon art. Like, all of our cartoon art is basically based off of Disney. Yeah, but anime kind of boils down human features in a... It skews more realistic than it does. This is the most important part of it. You're able to get these really excessive characters that don't look grotesquely inhumanoid.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And they do for some people. I mean, it takes a lot of getting used to, I know.
Yeah. But, like, Oda's got a very charming art style. And I mean, DBZ took off, and one could even argue that's kind of grotesque, but like the way faces and muscles are drawn.
Yeah. It's interesting because, it's like with... Oh, I think I see us. Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, my OBS cut out for some reason. My stream key stopped working, which I have no idea.
Hey, don't worry. It happens to everybody. It happens to the big boys. It's gonna happen to us.
Even the big boys?
Even the biggest boys you can imagine.
Like JoJo?
JoJo's one of the bigger boys. But... Yeah, JoJo. But yeah. just as you imagined, my child.
Wow. Even Jotaro Joestar has lag issues.
You're telling me you need to include just a 16-year-old.
Heinous, I know.
Penis?
Heinous.
Penis?
Penis.
Penis?
Yeah, I hate that hedgehog too.
It's supposed to be a chill stream.
I know. Do you have any questions as far as... Do you have any questions as far as lighting goes?
Honestly, I haven't really gotten there yet.
Gotcha. Neither have I, really.
I will talk to you about the lighting when I get to the lighting. I'm just trying to make these trees look not like poles.
Gotcha. See, I only started on the subject matter.
I didn't know because we had talked about perspective too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm just
I
doing
mean,
the whole thing.
Start where you
It's
gotta
okay.
and draw what you
Yeah,
like.
It'll be it'll.
I
push
will,
me to what I need,
It won't be a long stream. I will
but it will be.
forewarn everyone out there. I mean, it's already been cut into pieces as is, but, yeah, so it's funny we're doing lighting because my eyes are very light sensitive, or I should say, is very light sensitive today.
Oh, you just took one.
One of them's very light sensitive, because it apparently has metal in it.
Oh yeah, you must be some kind of chosen one.
I guess. I was chosen by the scrapyard. I must return to the scrap.
Who do you think? I was about to ask, who do you think chose you? But you know it's the Scrapyard, huh? I've never heard of that. Is that a faction in the universe?
I mean, I'm assuming it's the scrapyard because I don't know exactly where the metal got in my eye.
Okay. And if the Scrapyard isn't behind this dastardly deed, then who is? Do you think?
I don't know. It's more story plot to go through. I assume this is only Act 1.
I think I'm done with what I'm capable of, and then you can critique me, which can help us. I mean, I don't want to say pad out time on the hot mic, but you know what I mean. It gives us something to do.
Right.
I slimmed down the trees and shrank a building, and now I'm going to start thinking about lighting. I'm going to send you what I have now.
Gotcha.
So, when you were dumb and young, what was your favorite meme that you're now ashamed of? If there is one. I mean, you don't have to be ashamed. I would never cultivate shame. That's not fair.
I'm trying to think of ones that I'm ashamed of.
Well, I mean, just
like
it's a little cringe. Is all it is.
15 November.
14
November. Yeah.
Freaking troll face captcha comic. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I too.
There was a Rage comic that I liked
November.
because it was Pirates of the Caribbean themed.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a couple sitting in a theater and one person's trying to feel the other up, and they do the whole Barbossa line where it's like I'm afraid to say we must. I don't even remember the line.
Right.
Where ultimately leads up to it means no, and it does a rage face.
Means no. Yeah. Disinclined to acquiesce to her.
Yes, thank you.
For the first Pirates in the Caribbean.
What about you?
Banana phone?
Mmm.
Banana phone? a lot of Weeble stuff. I think hasn't aged all that well.
I didn't even think of that
And I
as
don't
like
mean,
meme.
like,
I just thought of that as like video content, but
well, like Badger Mushroom.
yeah.
Is a meme.
Was that Weeble?
Oh no, probably. But it was a very similar animation style.
Yeah, I mean, it was albino black sheep. You had 6 videos that really rose to the surface.
Oh, I haven't sent you the picture, so. Did I ever send you the first one?
No.
Well, you have a done one now. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Okay, I see the approach you took to it. You're trying to block in the shapes of like the entire picture there.
Yes, because like I said, we talked about perspective, so I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, if you're drawing from life, you are filling in some details from mine, and that's it's not a bad instinct. But if you're trying to draw from like a still life or something, you want to draw only what's there.
Okay, sure.
That way you can, because when we get into the lighting, you don't have a lighting reference for those parts you've kind of filled in.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But I'll, can I just copy image and put it on my screen here.
Blomp.
And warp.
Make sure to-
Yeah, gotta warp it.
Hey,
Yeah, so you're getting like a lot of the stuff in the background there. But yeah, that was the first note I could really think of is not having a lighting reference, because that's what we're gonna focus on here.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, yeah, you're getting a lot of those shapes blocked in really hard. And don't so much rely on how you think that, or on how you're used to drawing, say, hands, like if you know what the object is. Try and draw more from what you're seeing. Even if it's gonna come out a lot wonkier for a long time. But it'll help you get the tools to kind of take in what you're seeing, because hands are very, hands are the notorious challenge for drawing, and so trying to take in what you're seeing from reference gives you more tools to draw from later whenever you're drawing these very oblong flesh blobs coating a
That's
very
the thing, oblong flesh blobs are my favorite, so.
yeah. But yeah, I like what you're doing so far.
Hey, thank you.
Of course.
I'm gonna try to work off for the lighting. I'm not gonna try to light this scene at all. And
Gotcha.
I'm just gonna try to, highlight the upper sides like the image is, with a little bit of graphite shading,
Right. And so I think a good way to go about that, like if you notice, I'll just show the image we're working from on my screen. His shirt's got a lot of very soft kind of gradients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that graphite shading will come in. But I also picked this one because, like, where the hat meets the hair and where the coat meets the back, you've got that very solid, dark, hard shadow.
I see.
But you also get a little bit of rim lighting. Like, if you look at, well, like the top of the hat, of course, but also on the underside of the arm, or just any kind of outer outline, it's very soft, and that's because there's kind of like a very thin highlight running along those softer edges that are curving around away from you.
Okay.
And so, like, you don't want to shade all the way up to the edge if it's more of a round, softer shape, if that shape is moving away from you.
Okay, one more time?
So, like, on his forearm, on the fist that's up in the air.
Right.
Just gonna start a new layer here. Like, I'll work in green. No, I'll work in red because the trees are green. So, like, around his fist and his forearm here, you'll notice that it's very soft, like the shading right here, compared to, like, where the jacket meets here, because this you would draw as just, like, a very hard, distinct line. This you wouldn't draw as hard against the background because there's a little bit of almost negligible lighting there. So you would use a lot of softer shading in that part there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
And it helps create that rounder shape that's going on here.
Yeah, focusing on the dark shadows as well.
Yeah, so
a better idea of how even
the darkness would be in this panel here because I drew that that wireframe.
Oh jeez, that's pretty impressive, man.
Thank you.
Never slow with the compliment, honestly.
So I'm gonna go back to this and pull up my reference image again. See, I haven't even gotten as far as you have, and
well, I guess I'm just the old pro.
Yeah, teach me a thing or two.
You gotta have a really squirmy brain and body.
Ah,
It just
like a tardigrade.
So you have to imagine, like, so I went through years of school, and what I would do is I would take my homework into the next class and finish it there so that I could go play with friends after school. So I never learned any patience. I never learned to work hard.
I resonate with that. Any homework I could get done in class wasn't getting done.
Mm-hmm. And it's getting done poorly, and you're not retaining it because you're doing it while also listening to the stuff you're going to take the test on. Yeah,
right.
It's a dumb way to be, of course, but that's because the kid chose to do it.
I never learned to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're not concerned with teaching you to.
They're concerned with making you meet standards to get you out that door and making not their problem.
Gotta produce some labor, you know?
Right. But even that's turns out it's just an abysmal way to send kids into the labor force.
Yeah.
Because then, like, you don't learn to learn until you're on the job, and then you're responsible for things that could cause damage.
Well, not only that, but, you know, I've yet to, and maybe soon I will be lucky or something, but I've yet to have a job that ever did any level of training for me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a lot of jobs, because, and I think COVID was a huge awakening in the labor force, and that's one of the, huge tenets of that, is, like, you can't expect people to work if you're not going to supply the proper knowledge they need to do their jobs. And just expect them to figure it out. And I get it, like... No, I don't get it. I know it's...
Yeah, you understand.
It does cost people money, it does hurt the bottom line to train people, but ultimately you need to you need to make your job one worth staying at if you expect to have employees who are competent at their jobs.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you don't have to train people if you create a good work environment. A lot of people are just going to stay if they're miserable.
Right. But also understand that, there's going to be some turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Because ideally you're offering some kind of retirement program.
At the very least. When they're in, to not do Walmart. Or they used to not do.
When you're 80 at Walmart, you get to go into the box compressor, and that's your retirement party.
Did you watch the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared series? The television.
Yes, I did.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be hard to translate, but I think they did a really good job of it.
Especially
because
with the crow.
Why the crow?
Because he lacked a lot of the subtlety in the YouTube series that he had in the television series.
Mm-hmm.
He would only ever do the stinkiest, worst thing.
Right.
In the YouTube series, and he's a little more nuanced than that in the television series.
Yeah, there was time to flesh him out.
Yeah, time's part of it, and I think they tackled some things that would have been much harder to tackle without the time they got.
Mm-hmm.
The episodes on work and death are like touching on things that keep people awake at night every night.
Yeah. I mean, I think even the YouTube series did that.
It definitely did, but the complexity of, getting the Dilbert of it all, as well as the horrible meat grinder of capitalism, and to combine it with just sort of what coerced conformity does to a spirit,
Right.
It's and I think Work is one of my favorite episodes they've done for that reason, because it honestly just fits their vibe so well. The false positivity, the things to explain, the people dying horribly.
Right, and like to juxtapose it, the episode Family, I get what they were trying to go for, but it doesn't feel like it was realized as well. Because, it was just kind of the idea of the platonic family and how it's kind of imposed. But, it kind of got lost in the weirdness. I don't regret watching it. I thought it was a really fun episode, but the message didn't come across as well as it did in the Work one.
I'm of two minds about it, because I definitely think the almost perversity of what we consider normal, and the fact that we're all expected to do it whether we want to or not, I think that does make it a hard episode to watch. I think the biggest issue is that the family dolls aren't really funny ever, and that's okay, but like the format of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared up until the television series actually happened was for there to be something of a charismatic figure to step in and whisk them away. A Barney the dinosaur in the early eras. Now it's like Brazilian Sesame Street's least popular Muppet. And maybe that's part of it. It really could, because there's some commentary, some meta commentary in it of the teachers and the lessons of the YouTube format being sort of, I don't know, behind them now, like in the early episodes, there is one of those typical mascot characters that shows up, and they like ignore it for the plot that's overarching. And it's like a pointed meta pivot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But nothing's ever going to be as eye-grabbing as just one snappy, well-written clock song about, time that is really graphic and disturbing, and then over. It's never going to be as punchy.
Yeah, it's hard to draw out over 22 minutes.
Yeah, you can't, because every episode until then was one song.
I thought, like the family episode, they were trying something, and they were breaking from form, because you don't want to give everybody like the same format every time something comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not interesting to make.
I have to agree. The interesting... Okay.
I was going to say, regular show, has their format, but kept it... I don't know how they did it, but they kept it silly enough to be pretty well engaging most of the time. It's going to go off the rails, but I guess it's the journey, not the destination.
Well, there's a little bit of comfort in serialized television. It's fully intentional that that the guy who goes, is going to go talk to the guy behind the fence, and he's going to say, people in another country respected their wives, buddy. And then the episode's going to end with him going, rawr, 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 rawr. That's going to happen every time. But that can be a comfort in a confusing world.
Yeah.
So, what's your standing on? And this is kind of a hot button issue, so we can pivot away from it if you want. But you like It's Always Sunny, I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk online about the early seasons not being as good. And especially the first episode. I was wondering what you think about that.
I think any show like that kind of finds a groove a little ways in.
Yeah.
They found a rhythm, and I appreciate, the early seasons for what they were trying to do. I don't think they found their groove till, obviously, after Danny DeVito joins the cast. But...
Yeah.
I think they had kind of a golden era of Always Sunny. But then in later seasons, I'd say at probably season 10 and beyond, they kind of became caricatures of themselves, which happens so often in shows like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happened really early with Sunny, and they were able to embrace that. But I agree that now it's like they're just doing their
It's...
thing.
Yeah. And they did a fun thing with it where they tried to take it to, the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis with being definitely a serial killer.
Right.
But, I mean, it loses a lot of the nuance of the show. And...
Yeah, honestly, I have a lot of nostalgia for the early episodes. There's so many really funny moments that stand out as being good and also completely incompatible with the extremely popular show that it became.
Right.
Charlie in the very first episode says the line, it's something called business ethics day. Which is just so out of character for him for so large a percentage of that television show.
Yeah, he just becomes so cartoonishly stupid.
Yeah, really only, in my opinion, and this is controversial, and it is a funny show for a lot longer than it's a good show. But in my opinion, there's a lot of the only character that really benefits over doesn't get flanderized into just the one thing over time is Mac. I mean, he becomes the gay one, obviously, but that's after other things and tied into the very fabric of the beginning with him.
Right.
And
I mean, it was a joke from the get-go, a joke that didn't age well, and so they pivoted with it, and they did it decently well.
Yeah, no, I think it was as sensitive as It's Always Sunny's going to be.
Right.
You know, it's tough because honestly, like, most of the time the show's not that terribly offensive compared to, like, I don't know, stuff that's, you know, fairly popular or whatever. But like, you know, people talk about, I mean, people genuinely get so worked up about like how bitchy the cast of Friends was, you know what I mean? And like, for a certain subsection of people, like, Always Sunny's never going to work for them. Because,
Right.
They are just so awful that it doesn't work out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point.
For like that viewer.
Oh, I thought you were saying for the gang. Because yeah, they're so awful they get in their own way. They actually suffer consequences from their horrible behavior.
Yeah, well, what's neat, and this is something that's been sort of analyzed a lot, actually, from the perspective of, like, you know, I don't know, sensitivity and representation and all that stuff, and, you know, the strengths and weaknesses of the handling in It's Always Sunny, because obviously Carmen, I think is her name, or Cameron, you know, the trans character, is actually a really cool character. And so there's a nuanced discussion to be had there, but it's tough, I know, for a lot of people, because like they will like be writing essays a little bit later about how, like, I mean, there are things that are text in the show that people are like, look what I discovered, so often, especially, you know, with the internet now, that it's like, you know, I'm on my third rewatch of Breaking Bad, and I'm pretty sure Walter White's not the good guy. Like, look at all this evidence I've compiled, and I'm like,
he's the main person.
No, of course the real galaxy brain is that Walter White / Heisenberg's just not ever cool, and you're only ever being tricked by the sort of perspective into thinking he is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've watched up to season 4, I think. And I'm rewatching it now, and I just finished season 1, and it's like, no, out the gate, not a good dude.
Yeah, he's extremely pathetic, and like, there is a large subsection of people that just buy into the big grand speeches he has to tell himself and like his wife that he's abusing.
And you know, just
like, he's the one that knocks, man.
Like, I just watched an episode where he finger bangs his wife at a PTA meeting because he likes to feel powerful.
Yeah. I mean, he's honestly genuinely the worst. That's like one of the least offensive things that the man does. And it's funny because he appears in Better Call Saul, and I remember people being like, they made him so much like less, you know, like so much more of a jerk so that people would stop idolizing him. I'm like, you just in a context where the narrative isn't framed around the way he sees the world.
Yeah, and I mean, media literacy is dead. It's not a hot take.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because it is like sort of bad faith comedy analysis that started the whole killing of media literacy, I think, when it comes to fiction, you know?
What do you mean by that?
You know, like, it's just quirky and fun or whatever, but you get a bunch of people who are like, well, technically, if you have super strength and not super durability, your bones come out, you know? And it's like, that is so the approach now. And it's
nerd
wild.
culture killed culture.
I mean, we weren't getting anything better before superhero movies.
Right. You know,
You,
you have
I'm a
the Fight Club stands, the film bros.
yeah, and if Fight Club's good, it's another. I mean, since we're talking about parody, messaging, etc. Fight Club's very apt because obviously it's a
Fight Club, American Psycho, all those, like, people latched onto those for the wrong reason. And, I've certainly been guilty of this because I was young and dumb and full of taste. But
yeah.
I would latch on to these characters for the wrong reasons. Like, I think one I did was Archer. I'm like, I want to be the funny guy who always has the last line and, just drinks his wild abandon because it always works out for him. I never want to be responsible because it always works out.
Yeah, it's funny. And the show does sort of demonstrate how often things working out for somebody who's being irresponsible is just someone else having to clean up their mess, that is just things worked out because you were making everyone else's life worse.
Right.
I got a side profile for you here that I'm proud of. Let me see if I can send it to you in a way that looks less weird than that. Doing the thing.
Doing the Charleston. I like that.
Thank you. I've drawn a lot of faces because they're the thing I want to draw.
Copy image. Now, do you want some feedback on this one, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, I'm gonna copy it on over to the... So I really like this. What really stands out to me is how good the jawline into ear and like what you have going on the neck. Because like you said, you like drawing humans and like those shapes. And the chin into lip into nose is all just super well done.
Oh, thank you.
The eyes from side profile are really hard to do.
Less Pac-Man, right?
The eyes and the eyebrows, it's such a weird, distorted profile to pick from, so that it is really hard. The eyes, they're not going to go... I mean, they are globular, but the upper eyelid's going to hang down a little lower than the lower eyelid comes up. So, if we're kind of drawn here, and also the eyeball does kind of come to a point, almost. Because the lens sitting on top comes to a point. And so that's going to be less dramatic a line than the lower eyelid is. And also because a lot of the shadow is going to be resting under the eyelid here.
I see.
And then, so it's going to come to a point here. Usually the upper eyelid kind of swoops over. And then the iris... because of how the eyelids rest, usually butts up against the other one, but if you're talking like a disc, a lot more of it's going to be obscured, and the pupil's going to be up closer to the upper eyelid. So you can still see like the whole pupil, but as far as the iris is concerned, it's going to be a little skewed up as far as like the open eye goes.
Upward, you said.
Yeah, just slightly. And I mean, it's such a subtle difference, but it makes a huge thing whenever you're drawing eyes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, perspective is you can use perspective. Just a little shift of the line is 100 miles, depending on what you're looking at.
And don't be afraid to give them some forehead, even if he does have like that big pompadour. Give him something to sink over. And then for your lines, kind of draw the direction of the hair, even if you're just kind of scribbling it in. Like the sideburns are going to kind of have that. It's going to come to that point there. It's going to curl up here. I don't even know if it's visible what I'm doing here. But
yes, it is.
Yeah. So even if you're just kind of blocking it in, it helps sell the shape of the hair and the movement of it.
And the widow's peak as well is important.
Yeah.
Because of, like, that looking like a hairline.
No, you're doing really incredible work.
That's awesome.
I still struggle so much with like this area in particular.
Oh yeah, the side profile human.
No, just like the under chin.
Oh, I see that area. You certainly.
Yeah, the under chin, lining it up with this, because the distance between like here and behind the ear, like the front of the chin and behind the ear, makes such a difference in how they look.
Oh yeah.
I mean, proportion is everything. That's
yeah,
not a.
Find weird gaps in my knowledge because I maybe some thought of applications from exercises or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, anything that I like, I'll have, like, just this depth that I, trial and error out. That
Right.
surprises people relative to training.
No, and that's good, and that's a skill that I envy, honestly.
Yeah.
Because going back to kind of, the gifted education upbringing, if I wasn't immediately good at it, I just gave up on it because I never learned to learn. And so all throughout like grade school, high school, I was the one who drew good. And then I went to college and I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm the one who draws good. I'm the one who draws good.
I am one of the ones who draw already.
Yeah. And so I never really understood how to hone my craft. I lacked humility in that regard. Because, I just came up with this assumption that, like, you were good at something or you were not. I didn't understand, what it took to get good at something.
Well, it's strange. This is the biggest thing I've discovered with mental health as a journey, but it applies to everything. And that is, you're going to hear exactly what you need to hear and just have it be way too little for you to hear. And you're going to independently come to advice you've been told so often you're sick of it and think it's genius. Every time, if you're doing it right, you're going to be like, oh, they said I needed to exercise more 20 years ago or whatever, like.
But you weren't in a receptive space.
You're like, oh, I see. If you stay inside in the dark all day, you get sad. I swear someone should have told me that,
Yeah, you're just not... You're not always receptive to it.
And it's tough, because, like, it's just time wasted, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so hard not to feel so strongly let me tell you a story that is deeply personal.
Shoot.
And it's not like a secret or anything. But I was really into art as a kid. And my mom and I were drawing together because I was a kid. And she was drawing little faces. I was like, wow, I didn't really know how to draw. And she just said, "Oh, I don't know how to draw. I'm not any good." And it, like, I just never talked about it with her again, you know? And it, like, I think genuinely I can see fundamentally so many crossroads that come off of just her accidentally with her own mental health stuff. Just shutting down a kid who wants to live.
Right.
And not even callously like, oh, no, don't be silly. You know, I can't teach you anything. I'm terrible.
Yeah, she was doing her best, but wasn't thinking about it the same way you were, because...
Everybody's got their own stuff, you know? It's definitely something you learn.
And that's tough. It's an important part of growing up to realize that everybody else is also growing up. But, you know, as a kid, you know, it can have a bigger impact on your life relatively, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to go to really be seeing your family as people, your parents as fellow humans. You know, it's really... It's something that is constantly a relationship with your mom.
Right.
These are just people. And we're good to raise them. We were thinking one way or another.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, because, you know, there's the therapy almost trope of parental trauma, and I think that's almost a universal thing, is because when humans raise other humans, they're gonna pass on traumas in ways they don't know are happening at the time.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. But, you know, I can see myself now being derailed there, you know? And I mean, I don't like, there's no bitterness or anything. It's just, it's fascinating to think that I probably wouldn't have, you know, because I internalized that self-criticism about art. I internalized that drawing that she did that was so much better than anything I could imagine doing at that age. Bad, you know.
Yeah, and I had pretty supportive family structure in that regard. Like, I do remember my grandma throwing away a bunch of my drawings that were all over the kitchen because I guess there were just too many of them and it wasn't clean. And that was a huge hit. But my older brother, who was only 4 years younger then, was always drawing, and I think that was super huge.
That's awesome.
But, you know, I don't think I ever had like anything that told me to pursue art. I lived in a very practical household, and, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
art
generally.
wasn't a job.
Yeah, generally, if you wouldn't want to tell them you're gay, they don't want you to know.
Right, because in the Midwest, that's basically the same thing.
It comes close. It comes close. No, people are genuinely very cool about it until you do something artistic. It's like I feel like a lot of what I say, that's obviously right, you know.
And that's just your imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I suppose it. Well, I mean, you know, I certainly don't actually have money. They're asking what I do, but I guess they don't care that I make money.
Right.
They just make it smart. I used to freeze up. I used to have like panic attacks all
Ah,
They were going to ask me the mortifying question.
right. And I mean, that comes from internalized shame, and I got that even like years ago. I was working job to job, and I was afraid to admit what I did for a living because I was working at a hotel and working at a liquor store, and it just didn't feel like, oh, I should be on a career path because I had these friends who were on career paths, and
Yeah.
ultimately it was very bad for me. Like I missed chances with people, I missed opportunities because I was ashamed of myself because, you know, I was living with my parents at a certain time, and, you know, I just wasn't where I thought I was supposed to be at that time, and I carried a lot of shame about that.
Well, you know, that's where this is where it begins to sound tinfoil hatty, I guess. But that's where people want you. You know, the advertisers and higher ups. They want you
Oh yeah,
mortified with yourself so that they can sell you the fix. You know.
capitalism relies on the infantilization of the consumer, which is a Spencer Crittenden quote.
Hmm. It's
Because they don't want us to be empowered. They want us to buy the empowerment.
no, certainly nobody that has ever sold you anything is going to be empowered. It's a tough game because I don't know. I try to have these conversations with people, and like it always comes down to one of two things: if they aren't for certain social welfare programs or even just social issues, it's almost always bitterness or nonsense metaphysics. And I don't even just mean God. I mean like, well, that's not the natural order, and you know, actually gain has caused the downfall of the Roman Empire. And I'm like, that's metaphysics, though. They didn't, like, nowhere in the history books it said that the club fucked until all of them were dead. It's like, that's, you know, not what happened.
Yeah, and in fact, a lot of the history books omit the fact that gay people existed, so...
I mean, it's as good a time as any to shout out that, like, you know, it was the Center for Sexual Research in Germany that was the first book burning the Nazis did. And, like, the idea that it's this new thing, like, they're only able to sell this, you know, until 5 minutes ago, bullshit, because Nazis destroyed all of the research.
Right.
Because they hated people with non-normative anything, but, you know, obviously sexual activity and gender ideation.
Yeah, we lost a lot.
And like,
Through that,
and then to pretend
and-
it's new, you know?
You know, growing up in America, which is still a new country, Americans also latched onto a lot of those ideals until Pearl Harbor.
Sorry, your voice cracked in a way that made it sound like you were crying about Pearl Harbor. That's why I laughed when you said
Oh no, it was more of a comedic laughing like, yeah, that was us too.
Oh, I see. I thought you were like, we used to believe that until Pearl Harbor.
Never forget.
I have had a blast drawing. What did you think of that second man face?
Yeah, I want to talk about it, but we were, you know, enthralled in a conversation there. But, yeah, again, like, you're nailing these, like, profile shapes, into the forehead, into the back of the skull, getting that roundness of the back of the head. You're getting a lot of these oblong shapes down, and you're doing really excellently.
Thank you. Specifically about the eye. I tried to take some of the notes you gave.
Yeah. Oh, you did that within the time? Like, this is fresh off the books?
Oh yeah, I draw really fast.
No, that's really incredible.
I drew it after the greaser.
Nice, yeah. I also like his little Puddles pity party hat.
That's actually an old D&D style goblin.
An old goblin?
Here, I'll show you a picture.
Okay.
You'll have to show the people, of course.
Yeah.
Lest they think I'm a liar. Like, original D&D style.
Mm-hmm. AD&D.
You get a lot of that in my sketch pages. It's like, here's a bone jaw. And it's just...
Oh, the hat itself is a goblin.
It's a goblin's head, yeah.
Gotcha. I thought you were saying just a man's face with a silly hat was an AD&D goblin.
Yeah. I drew. I shaved FDR from the time, and then I slapped a D&D goblin on it.
Nice. That's a lot of fun.
Thank you. I was going for that real old feel, maybe a little.
I'd also love
what
a
it really
hat
looks
like that.
A strong hat. like the Teen Girl Spot Iron.
I see that. A lot of those quick lines, and I sketch a lot like that. Like, I was working on a drawing. I'll show you after, just because it's not smooth enough for me to show it on show right now. But just like the sketchiness is so all over the place, because I'm just getting back into physical drawing again, because I'm not as busy as I have been in days past. But I'm gonna add some highlights here based on this statue. And do you have any questions?
God, I have too many questions. I don't. If you could give a real brief piece of information about color and shading. Maybe some kind of brief demonstration.
Yeah, like, it's kind of a big question.
Just,
like...
I've never... And maybe it's just that fear of failure, but I've never been able to color any picture ever. I colored one with a watercolor tool at MSP that I still think that is like, which I know is like wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes from doing. I still have that same fear, to be honest. Like, if I have a piece I really like, I'm afraid to color this in because I spent all this time on it. And it's that time sunk fallacy. So, you're afraid to color it in because if you're working in physical media, it's a destructive alteration. You're altering it ultimately, but you can't be afraid to start over again if you really want to see that piece realized. And maybe you color something and it doesn't work out, but you learn something. You have something you can look at and see where your foibles were and learn for next time. And if it's a piece you really want to see realized, you will draw it again. And I mean, like, motivation, you can't wait for it to find you. You just have to kind of buckle down and do it.
Yeah, that's, as somebody who, this sounds like a fucking name drop of some sort. Not name drop, but as somebody who's finished a novel, like, I had to learn really quick that, like, I can't write when I'm inspired because that's never, not quite never, but it's not gonna happen. All right, I'd like you to, before we go, give me, I don't know where to go, but give me something to smash out real quick so I can show you that I sketch my piece.
Draw me a cyborg.
Okay. That's tougher.
It's as tough or as easy as you want to make it. And I don't necessarily mean, like the DC Comics character. I mean, in the most broad sense.
Yes, yes. Part man, part machine. I always think of them as Starfleet as the little blocking characters. There's not really a reason for it except for the sort of sweeping fee of a general chest and torso shape. It's very,
Yeah.
got to breach.
Oh, you mean like Star Trek Starfleet, or?
Yeah, Star Trek.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's a good shape to go off of. It's a nice rounded V. Dakota taught me something that's been super helpful if you want to get into more complex poses and stuff. Start a new layer here. The best way to go about it is, or at least a very helpful way to go about it that Dakota taught me, is to start at the hips and you just kind of block in the hips, create, a block shape dimensionally, and then the torso is going to be kind of a bigger block going off of that. So there's, the top of the shoulders. And then from there, you've got your pectorals, abdominal wall, groin. Draw some big ol'
groin.
Yeah. Big ol' groin. Big ol' thighs off of that. Big meaty thighs.
It's such efficient construction. It's wild. It's always been something I had to make myself do. I always wanted to draw from sight and memory and just pure fantasia.
Nah, these things always help, and it allows you to... So if I want to draw somebody, like, here's the bottom of that kind of trapezoidal box shape, and then their shoulders are going to be up here, and their pectorals are going to be here. Going to have a big Spider-Man leg coming out here. And, there's their butt.
Oh. I can't miss this part.
And their arms are kind of flailing up there. Like, starting with the head is something I still also need to kind of break the habit of. Like, it's always supposed to start at the hips, because that's going to be where, like, the main motion of the body is going to be coming from.
Interesting.
Like, just that point between, like, the hip and the torso.
So much to learn.
Oh, yeah, and there's only ever more.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Still working on that cyborg. We'll finish. Oh, no. We'll show what you got. I'm going to finish highlighting Luffy here. And I've been using a lot of soft highlights on this, which I should be breaking the habit of, but I think it really works for a bronze statue like this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what a soft highlight. I mean, I know you're using that white there.
I'm using a softer brush.
I see. You're highlighting. It's kind of a shortcut.
Yeah, normally I'd be like, if I were working with a physical media, I'd be using like a graphite or like a pastel or something, kind of blending it out. Also, a good way to get lighting down with physical media is to draw on like a neutral colored paper, like a brown or a gray, and then not only work with your pencils, but also have like a white pencil that you can highlight with. Because then everything's going to be neutral colored, and then you can, in the same method you would be shading with, whether you're blending or like cross hatching, you can do that with the white to get your lights, and it's a good way to study where the light's really hitting hardest.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, like the sort of light.
Mm-hmm. Because yeah, the hard light gleams are always going to be different from like that soft kind of ambient light on anything. And like with the shadow, the light's not always going to go all the way to the edge if it's a softer ambient light like this. But if it's backlit, that's where that hard light's going to come in, like on the very edge. Like a block, it's got cylinders. I'm excited to see it. All of Luffy's abs are lit up at the top. So we got a little highlight there. This hat needs to be lit better.
Light that hat.
I am. I'll light it up, baby! Now I'll go in with this brush to get some of those harder points of light, like I already do with the nose here. Maybe on some of these buttons. I'm doing what I said not to do earlier. I'm just kind of filling in points that I think should be there rather than what's actually there.
You're doing it perfectly. You finally come to understand my methods.
Nah, my old drawing teacher wouldn't stand for it. As much as I disagreed with her. I learned a lot there. Yeah, she was a really involved teacher, and I feel bad for not being as good a student back in that day.
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, I got really unlucky with electives. I never got an art class except for one like an intro art class. I always wanted to take that.
In high school, I didn't take any art classes until senior year. And then I lucked out with a really good art teacher, and I'm like, I could have been doing this the whole time? So yeah, here's my bronze Luffy.
I'm almost done with my cyborg.
I'm gonna get a little more of this scar. He's got a little more definition here in the upper abs of the big X, which marks the One Piece.
That's right. I believe that is what Gold Roger said. It's where the X is. His immortal final words.
Yeah, X marks the spot. The X is the heart of the pirate.
The One Piece is the letter X.
Yeah, it's the Keyblade.
Hi. Alright, just got away from me.
Let's see here. I love it.
I thought you might appreciate the stylization. That's supposed to be a
Yeah.
tire on the bottom.
Oh, okay. See,
Pulls himself along on the tire.
it looks to me like one of Sid's toys, the little baby spider.
Yeah.
That's dope. All right. Anything else you want to tell the people before we go about our happy way?
Yeah, brush your teeth tonight.
I will, and they all should too.
Now get out of here.